Hey there, Saints fans. Welcome back to the channel. And today, I'm actually pretty excited about this one with the passing schemes and going through the various concepts that New Orleans had success with against the Dallas Cowboys in week 2 of the NFL season. Now, here's the thing. I know they didn't run a ton of passing concepts. In fact, Derek Carr finished his day with like 11 completions, but that doesn't mean that they weren't effective. When you manage to build a massive lead, it's only natural you're going to start going to the run game to solidify, hold on to, and run out the clock for that lead. You start really wanting to work time possession while still trying to be aggressive. That said, we're going to take a look at what they did do very well and hopefully how that can be continued into future games this year. Now, two things before we get started. Number one, remember, these videos are not enough for you to build a scouting report on any individual player. You still got to put in the work and get the snaps. But at the same time, hopefully it shows you some of the things that are happening in the game and gives you a greater understanding. And number two, you are going to see some negatives in this video. Believe it or not, I said this on Twitter, even in a dominating win, it's important to find the negatives. And if you don't, you're doing yourself a tremendous disservice. Just like in a horrible loss, you've got to find the positives. Got to stay consistent, but also never be complacent and find ways to get better. So you're going to see that today, and we just don't do highlights. All right, let's roll the beautiful bean footage. All right, so on this play, we're going to take a look at what is honestly my favorite play from the entire game, and it doesn't even count. But if you want to get an example of what this team is doing and how it's different than last year, this is it. It has every layer to it imaginable, and it's actually going to take me time to explain it to you, but that's honestly a good thing. Now, there is an argument to be had for overcomplexity can lead to problems. Maybe that's why Cesar Ruiz actually gets a penalty here for a legal man downfield. He's an ineligible receiver, and he's 1 yard too far down the line. But let's talk about what the actual design is. As again, I think this is fantastic. So, number one, are you going to see motion? Yes, that's a given. But you're going to see it in a unique way. You're going to see Shaheed come here, and he's going to essentially motion out to what's basically a wheel route. That's the look. It's like a wheel out. And then you're going to follow that with Chris Olave dragging an out. There's a reason for this. That's going to drag the coverage all to the right side of the screen. Then what you're going to do, next layer, because there's layers to this, we're going to have a boot action. So we're going to boot Derek Carr out in that direction to make you believe that's where we're going, right? So that gives you the play action effect. That's also going to drag your offensive line. But here's more layers. We're also going to drag in certain offensive linemen over here in AK, and we're going to show a screen. And we're doing all of this window washing, all of this dressing for one purpose. Believe it or not, it's for this guy right here, Foster Moreau, so that they can run one route called Y-Leak. So now that I've explained what the design is, I want you to watch the play again. Watch Foster Moreau. He's going to be at the top of your screen. So here comes your motion from Rashid Shaheed. Again, really making that defense shift. Now we have Olave crossing. You've been paying attention to Foster Moreau the entire time? Well, there he is, Y-Leak. And I talk about it as one of my favorite plays. You can only run it and expect to like really catch the defense off guard, maybe a couple times a year. But right here, you see offensive line is moving in unison, but we're bringing everybody out in like a scream, and he sells it all the way to the very end. Look at him selling that he's part of the block. See what's happened though? Olave, there's your out route, has drug 2 defenders. Rashid Shaheed in the deep has drug the defender and the safety. What did that do? Cleared up all this beautiful space behind me because the people who are left are, I mean, for good reason, focusing on Alvin Kamara. So Madden pin cleanup, Madden pin aside, what does that end up doing? Here's the leak, and the unsuspecting man, Foster Moreau, would have had the easiest touchdown of his career. I'm very confident I could have thrown this touchdown. I'm not trying to be one of those guys who's like, hey, I played football in high school. I could throw a touchdown past the NFL. But if it was this play, I probably could. No, I couldn't. I'd break my leg doing the boot action. But point being, this is my favorite play because of the design. It's the movement. It's the element. And when you talk about what makes a modern offense, that simply is a way of saying it's an offense that identifies the current trends and is able to capitalize on defensive trends and find ways to beat them. What did you do here? Because those motions are always going to typically cause a shift or a drag, especially if you see teams running man or match coverage, opens up the opportunity for this. And unless you're a perfectly disciplined team, there's the easy play. The only negative I have to say about this one, well, there was a penalty, so it didn't count. But fantastic design. You're going to see a lot of other good plays today, but this is my favorite. All right, guys and gals, good things never die, and the Yankee concept is one of those. In fact, if you want your own Yankee concept t-shirt, it's part of our Pull the Trigger series for those who've been back in the days of Drew Brees, Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston. It's one of my catchphrases. Well, you do have a great job by Derek Carr to pull the trigger here, and it's going to Chris Olave. Let's talk about the coverage here and what the Dallas Cowboys are showing and how they end up attacking this team. So what they are dropping into is cover 3. It's very important for y'all to notice this because you're going to see a different look later on. And we're going to discuss how Derek Carr is able to make a great play from a quote-unquote wrong read. Sometimes wrong reads can be the right read. We'll talk about that here, and hopefully y'all enjoy the little depth that we go into today. But what you see here is a cover 3 alignment, a very traditional cover 3. Now, when I say traditional cover 3, what does that mean? I'll write it on the screen to kind of give you an idea. So let's just say this is the offensive line. This is a cornerback. This is a cornerback. And this is a safety. All right, does that make sense? In fact, let's actually make them the little X's everybody's used to defensive guys being written out as. All right, little ugly X's on the screen. Okay, so in typical cover 3, just the basics of how cover 3 works, you're going to have deep thirds of coverage to defend the deeper portion of the game. And you have the free safety who get the middle, and each corner will be responsible for an outside third. That is traditional cover 3. It can be a great coverage to help defend the deep pass, giving you more bodies down in the back end with speedy DBs, especially with good range and ball skills, can maybe force some turnovers. Now, there are ways to play this with things like cover 3 match and how you match vertical routes of different receivers, but the idea of what New Orleans is running with the Yankee concept is pretty simple. We're going to have a deep post route to stress the middle of the field, and then we're going to have an underneath in route, and it creates a layer concept, very common in a lot of West Coast systems. And now you're going to work high to low and decide, how do we attack this? If the safety attacks down, we go over the top. We've talked about this before. If the safety follows up with Shaheed, then you're going to attack Olave down. All right, well, does that happen? Yeah, Derek Carr sees the safety leaking back, means this opens up underneath, and you get a great pass. This is also where I want to actually give Derek Carr credit this game, because last game I talked about him throwing this same concept a little bit behind. This time, he throws it perfectly. I mean, if I have to nitpick, okay, maybe it's a little bit high. I'm not going to gripe too much, but there's a reason I mentioned it being high. We'll talk about it in a second. But this is exactly what I want Derek Carr to do, and I'm actually so happy to see him do it on this play. He leads his receiver here, because not only did Olave have the separation, great job, but he didn't have to slow down the route, so he got yards after the catch, which is one of the inconsistencies about Derek Carr's throws that we have said he has to get better at. Well, he did that here, and to see that improvement, and this goes back to what I said in the beginning of this video, this is why even in blowout wins, you find things to improve on, so it can result in plays like this. Because of the better, amazing throw by Derek Carr, he did a great decision here. Chris Olave gets 15 more yards and puts you down inside the 10. That's why I look at the first week and go, hey, need to see this clean up, but good decision. Because it was a great decision in week 1. And now Derek Carr did it perfect, whereas before he did it well. Does that make sense? And this is why it's so important to make sure that when you have a play that's great, still find ways of, can this be tweaked a little bit better to be better? So what do you have? Number 1, you have a great route run by Shaheed and Olave. Great concept to execute against cover 3 here by Clint Kubiak. And you have Derek Carr perfectly executing it. Bravissimo. Absolutely love it. Très bien. Ça c'est bon. Next play. Okay, so another play here, and this is going to be the Rashid Shaheed deep bomb. And it's important for y'all to pay attention to this because Dallas has now adjusted. And this is why when people talk about, hey, look, and I understand the point, Derek Carr, Clint Kubiak, it's only 2 games. How can you be confident this persists? Well, I'm hopeful it persists based on what I'm about to show you here. So I just talked about what cover 3 is, and hopefully y'all have kept up. I believe y'all are all smart enough to do so. Y'all are all brilliant people. I believe I have the smartest community in all of sports. But let's take a look at the concept. We're seeing a 2-high look here from the Cowboys. What does that typically mean? That generally means a pre-snap look of cover 2, 2-deep look, middle of the field open. But the important thing for Derek Carr is he has to read post-snap. So his pre-snap read tells him Rashid Shaheed is open. That's what his pre-snap is telling him, because this is the Yankee concept again. All right. So against cover 3 and cover 1, you have a safety in the middle of the field. Very likely the deep post is going to be closed. But in this, the look is middle. And again, people who follow the channel know I write on the screen like I'm Madden with horrible handwriting. You have to just bear with me. Middle of the field, open. All right. So if you have a 2-deep set, that's typically the read. But it's going to adjust post snap. And here's the difference. Dallas now recognizes what New Orleans is doing, and they adjust their defense to cover 3 cloud. Now, Derek Carr talked about this in the post game. Now, as a fan, you're going, okay, what is cover 3 cloud? Let me explain. So in normal cover 3 that we talked about, the strong safety is actually going to come down, and he's responsible for the low flat. So cover 3 has 3 deep coverages and 4 underneath coverages. If we're just talking about how basics of cover 3 works, okay? So underneath, you're going to have 4 coverages. I'll just put 4 ugly circles on the floor. So in the way that you could see maybe cover 2 being inverted, what essentially happens in cover 3 cloud is you invert this strong side of the field here with Rashid Shaheed. So instead of having the corner have the deep coverage, you're actually going to leave it to the safety. And what that does for the corner, and again, this is why Dallas adapted, and it was a good decision by Dallas. New Orleans just was better, and that's why I'm so excited about this play. Here's what that allows you to do. When you run cover 3 cloud, it allows your corner to be at the line of scrimmage and jam your receiver with the hope of throwing the timing off. So what happens? Pay attention. This didn't happen on the last play. Bam, jammed. That throws him off a little bit. Now, Rashid Shaheed's so good, and he really is good. Devontae Adams was giving him praise today. It doesn't affect him enough. So Derek Carr is seeing this. Now, he's got another clean pocket. And keep in mind, this is a 2-route concept, right? You've got to have everybody doing a great job. The whole point of this is to make sure Derek Carr has a great pocket. Okay? So now what are we seeing here? So your other corner does the normal thing where he's going to get to his deep third. We have 2 safeties doing the same thing. And what I said before was, this is an example when the wrong read can be right. Derek Carr mentioned this. This is cloud. What ends up happening with cloud? Both safeties are taking off deep. Okay, so both safeties are covering Shaheed. You should, as a quarterback, see this and go, can't throw this ball, not worth it. But what does Derek Carr see that's different, right? Because there are times where the wrong read can be the right play. And it all comes down to Rashid Shaheed. What Rashid Shaheed did was when he attacked the vertical, he made sure that the safety's hips got turned to the outside. What that ends up doing is giving you leverage to the inside. Now, normally that wouldn't be enough, right? Because you've got a safety who's coming. But you got to remember there's this thing about Rashid Shaheed having like 3-4 speed. He's got stupid speed. He's basically Sonic the Hedgehog with dreads in a black jersey, right? The dude's nuts. And what he's able to do with this corner being turned, even if the corner executes a speed turn to try to recover, you're usually not going to be able to recover against elite speed. So with that, Rashid Shaheed just burns him. Bam. He broke through. So Derek Carr's like, I've got the arm. I can make this happen. And I trust Rashid Shaheed to simply be better than the guys he's running past. And that's what happens. So even though this is technically the wrong read, it's the right play based on who you had. They called a coverage to stop what you just ran, and you still beat them. That's when I talk about, hey, when you look for traits of a player that can be elite, this is how you know that Rashid Shaheed has things like elite ball tracking skills, elite speed, elite acceleration, the ability to do something that is counter, like if you're prepped for plays that are designed to stop you and you still beat them, you're doing something special. And it's a great job by Derek Carr because look, from his 24 all the way down to the 21. The man threw the ball over 50 yards through the air. And I'm going to be honest with you, Derek Carr fans, it doesn't impress me that much. You want to know why? Because he did that flat-footed in week 1. That pass was more impressive. This is still heckin' impressive. But the fact that he did it week 1 flat-footed was heckin' impressed. But hopefully you enjoyed the very long-winded way of why I enjoyed this play so much. That's how I know this team is currently in a special place. And I hope it stays that way because they can take plays like this by the defense that are perfect designs to stop you and still go, nah, we got it. Putty. All right, so this is going to be AK's big screen pass. And I know, Saints fans, you're excited. You haven't seen consistent screen pass success in a long time. And hopefully this has become normal. Number one shout out I've got to get is the man, the myth, the legend, not Alvin Kamara. We shut him out at plenty. You see Cesar Ruiz booking it here? He reaches an insane over 17 miles an hour. The first offensive lineman to do that this year. Big props to big man. Coming off the line there, getting in, and then look at him just booking it. Kind of passes up AK. Hey, AK, you might want to watch out. Man's going to replace your job. Big man can run that fast. Why not just give him the football? Just saying. Something think about Clint Kubiak. I know you watch my videos, right? I mean, who doesn't? Getting a little bit ego on myself. But let's talk about the play itself, how it's designed. The main thing I want to highlight, obviously we know Alvin Kamara and what he is. But again, there's layers to the success and why things are happening. The main thing I want y'all to focus on is look at the route concept. So again, what is becoming a standard, and I love it, motion. Not only does this allow you to determine the covers they're in, because if they're in man coverage, you're typically going to have a follow through. If there's zone, you're typically going to see a shift. It's good for the quarterback to see that, but you're also going to do that intentionally, because what are we doing? Well, we're dragging everybody. We got vertical, but look at these routes. We're getting everybody into the middle of the field. Why is that important? So we get that wheel route with Olave here at the bottom, but we're getting everybody out the way. See how we got everybody out the way? So we had the deep route here. Love 84 on this one, by the way. Great job just getting in the way. But see how he's going to attack that safety. He's drugged this defender back 15, 20 yards. Obviously, we got this route, which is simply double post. We're dragging the 3 people here, which by extension ends up giving you extra blockers downfield. And then we've got the offensive lineman releasing. So the routes naturally emptied up a massive area of the field, giving you a ton of green grass. And again, 84 loved his job continuing his route after it was needed, purposely to allow him to be a downfield blocker. And this is just good fundamental design. Look, end of the day, you can't sit here and go Alvin Kamara and Derek Carr did anything special. It's a screen pass. For a screen pass to be explosive, you've got to have elements added to it, usually. That isn't to say that Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara aren't, but it's a great job by the unknowns of 84. Who's our Randy Moss, essentially? The unknowns of Cesar Ruiz against most people in the league. Don't really know who he is yet. He's booking at 17 miles an hour down the field. Those are the things that make this team good, and hopefully we continue to see these fundamentals go well. By the way, I gave Lucas Patrick a lot of love. Pay attention to Lucas Patrick right here. Look at this man just celebrating. This man just loves success. Look at this right here. Look at that. He's happy. Big man's happy. We like happy big men. Look, I wish we could go through every play. Sadly, we just don't have time for that. So not every play is a good play, right? Not every time is a successful play, but that doesn't mean it can be a bad decision or it has to be a bad decision. And I want to give Derek Carr credit for that here. This is a play that simply doesn't work. That's going to happen. Even in games where you're dominating, not every play is going to work. And there are going to be times where sometimes you want to do week 1, where we do the YOLO God's plan, shout out Jameis Winston, throw to Foster Moreau in the end zone after he waves his hand. But you'll see Rashid Shaheed just did it here. But Derek Carr makes the right choice. This would be a bad throw because he has 3 defenders underneath, all with good speed, all with good leverage. The perfectly placed ball, maybe it works. But with this boot action, he's got a defender coming down on him. And that, as you can see, to me, that is too cluttered to risk a pass. And then you've got Olave right here, probably going to be a PBU. So he keeps it. I guess you could maybe argue, hey, we should throw it to Olave, but not everything's going to work all the time. Your boot action is not going to work all the time. This is basically a 2-route concept. You do have a trail here with Foster Moreau, but I don't think most people are ever going to focus on that. But as a whole, you're happy with this decision. When things do go bad or simply don't go right, big key, not making a mistake, right? That's big. Not every play is a successful play. Sometimes that happens. Don't let it become a bad play. The only thing, I guess, I'll add one thing here. Technically, this actually counts as a sack if y'all didn't look at the stat sheet because Derek Carr is a yard behind the line of scrimmage. So honestly, if you're going to get run out, just throw it away. Do the typical Aaron Rodgers thing. Aaron Rodgers just loves throwing the ball out of bounds. Just do that because it technically did count as a sack and a loss of a yard. But still, as a decision, I'm very glad he did not try to force into triple coverage in the end zone or put him, Olave, in a position where maybe he got hurt from a hit or just a simple INT from a mistake. Good decision making. All right, here it is, y'all. Remember, we don't do highlight films around here. Mistakes happen. And while I gave Derek Carr credit, he deserves a little bit of admonishment, a little bit of a, hey, that's not good. On this play, let's talk about why. First, we'll talk about the route concept because it's different than what you've seen before. This is not Yankee. This is a little bit different. I would call this a whip route. Usually, a whip concept with a whip route is going to be a half-field 2-route concept. And some of you might be familiar with it, but like the smash whip concept is where you're going to run a corner route and then you have a whip route underneath. Here, I'll draw it for you. Now, I'll just put it on the screen. This one's a little bit different because we're doing it from a full field variation. We're going to have Olave run the post route, and then we're going to run a whip with Rashid Shaheed. So we're going to come in and we're going to break him out towards the sideline, kind of like you would do a corner route, and then we're going to have it behind. So the decision to throw this ball is not bad. He just needs to make sure it's a well-placed ball. This is a great job earlier, and I hope to see more and more of that continue. truly, this is just I actually incorrectly, erroneously called it a bad decision in the podcast because I hadn't seen the All-22 yet. It's actually a great decision. He just has to throw a better football. I mean, that's all is to it. One thing, Derek Carr, perfect pocket, etc. You just got to hit this consistently. And you can see from here, remember what I talked about earlier being a little bit too high and away? This one's just a smidge too high and away. It's out of the outstretched reach of Olave. It ends up being an easy pick. Now, the grand scheme of things, this doesn't affect the game. It didn't cause a problem. New Orleans didn't lose. But again, you want to go into film and find, okay, how can I get better? And this is one for Derek Carr. I mean, this is a clean pocket for a pass that should have gone as like a 25-yard gain. Instead, it's a completely on him mistake that I'm sure he owns up to. But barring this one play, I'll be honest, Derek Carr was 99% perfect. It's really the only negative play I can chart from this game. All of his passes tend to be very well placed. I thought he made great decisions. This is just simply a bad ball. And I guess that's going to happen. It's not like our star quarterbacks of Saints yesteryear didn't have bad plays. Shout out to the second best quarterback of all time in the New Orleans Saints uniform, Aaron Brooks. Oh, can't wait to see the comments on that one. But still got to find things to improve on. That's the one for Derek Carr in the passing scheme. Really interesting concept to see them. And I do want to see this team expand from a lot of these two-route concepts because this mass protect is great, gives you a great clean pocket. But teams are going to start running things like robbers specifically for these routes. And they're going to start running specific bracketing coverages to stop Olave and Rashid Shaheed if those are the only options. So very curious to see how this offense continues to develop as more games go on. All right, guys and gals, hope you enjoyed the video. As always, love doing these film studies and appreciate you. These take a while to do, but they're a lot of fun, and it's only because of the support that y'all have been giving. The people following the channel, likes, we've even had people donate to support. That means the world to me and my family. Thank you very much for that, and we'll continue to put out stuff like this, and hopefully you're enjoying it. And if you are, I ask you to do simple things. Just hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share it out to the Hoodats, and leave a comment down below because believe it or not, that helps the old algorithm. Hoodad to you. Live long and prosper. It's a Star Trek thing. Some of you will get it. And we'll see you on the next one. Deuces, that's me. See ya tomorrow, maybe. We'll see. We'll see.